So the Hawks made their way to the bye in round 11 with a win-loss record of 6-4, 3 wins behind the ramp, but runaway leaders Fremantle sitting in 6th place on the ladder. Still an up-and-down start to the year until they finally recorded back-to-back wins, round 9, round 10, and they were big wins too, Brownie.
They certainly were, and a good time to get them as well. Just leading into the bye there, but again, yeah, just can't quite find their consistency just yet in the first half of the season.
Didn't play against the Giants in round 6, Chip. You came back in round 7 against Melbourne. We'll get to that very shortly, but the GWS Giants were pretty impressive in round 6.
Yeah, they were great, mate. Jeremy Cameron today, I think, kicked 7 goals, and the midfield really fed him there. But with injuries to myself, Brian Lake, probably the backline was undermanned, and it showed on the game. So, yeah.
And they looked exposed, I think, Hawthorn, because I can't remember an individual performance like Jeremy Cameron's against the Hawks. No one kicks big bags against him. He kicked 7, was unbelievable. But you're right, with a couple of injuries down back, all of a sudden, opposition sides are looking at that and thinking they're a bit vulnerable, the Hawks.
What was starting to become very obvious during the 2015 early part of the season was a disappointing loss, and all the losses up until that stage, James, were narrow losses. The following week, they would be strong performances. You come back in round 7 against your old team and absolutely smash the Demons.
I think that's a good thing about the Hawthorn side. Have one poor performance, they come back with a bit of that fire in the belly and come back and really perform the next week. So, yeah, it's good to get back out there against the old team, Melbourne, and I was pretty nervous before the game, but I thought more like a couple of bands from the boys, maybe Nathan Jones can be clipped on the ears, but it wasn't too bad out there, and actually enjoyed it playing, and probably because he won by a fair margin, so it was pretty enjoyable.
You won by 105 points. Did you feel sorry for some of the former teammates there halfway through the last quarter?
Oh, not really, mate. I was happy days, mate.
You've been on a number of those end of those losses in your previous time with Melbourne, so it was nice to be on the other side of it. Well, rounds 6 to 11, Brownie, also resulted in a loss to the Giants, as we said, but then in round 8, it was also a narrow loss against the Sydney Swans.
Again, another game that they could have won, and they dropped a close one. I think Luke Bruce had a set shot on goal with under a minute to go from a fantastic bit of play from Sean Burgoyne. Probably the difference between Hawthorn last year and this year is they won those close games, Schwatter. Every time it got close, they managed to find a way to win. Whereas this year, they're 4 losses, all very close. Essendon 2 points, Port Adelaide 8, GWS 10 and Sydney 4. They're on the receiving end of some of those close games. So while they're losing, they're not getting blown away.
What was the general feeling of the group and the message from Alistair at that stage of the season, James?
I think it was just the consistency. I think every now and again we'd have a good game, the next week we'd have a poor game. So it's just getting that right consistency for the whole year. Like I said before earlier, that the starts were probably a bit slow in the first quarters, and that was a real focus of the boys to try and really rectify that area.
Was motivation levels not a concern, but obviously so a lot of the players have won back-to-back premierships. They love playing finals and big games like that. So all of a sudden, playing a regular home and away game, just that level of intensity wasn't quite there, you think?
I think the intensity was there. I think you always play footy to win games of footy, and the intensity is always there. But I'm not really sure, mate, because I haven't won too many finals before this year. So I can't really speak for the boys. But probably looking at the vision and the footage, maybe that was. But I'm not really sure.
Bit hard to win a final, James, if you hadn't played in a final in your time at your previous club. But that's about to change. Right. It did change towards the end of 2015. Leadership, Luke Hodge, an incredible leader. You've played a lot of football against him. He comes back against the Gold Coast in round 9. Round 9 and round 10, 2 big wins that you have. First time in 2015 that you have consecutive wins. Luke Hodge, describe him as a leader.
It just shows how good of a player he is, mate. He's been out for 3 weeks, come back in and dominates. I think he had 30-odd possessions, kicked a few goals, but he's just ruthless, out in the field. He just sticks up for you, sticks up for his teammates. If you do something wrong, he'll tell you what he did wrong, and if he did something wrong, he put his hand up. He's the first and put his hand up. So
ruthless.
Yeah, he's very ruthless. So he's a great leader. He's pretty smart, around the club, and really helps the boys out as well. So
perfect lieutenant on ground and at training for Alistair Clarkson, who's got that characteristic as well. Alistair Clarkson knew that a top 4 finish would be crucial, and they certainly had excellent percentage on their sides, but they had to find a way to produce consistency expected of a top 4 team. Just before we have a look at rounds 12 to 16, Brownie, Hawks just did a job on St Kilda, a massive win in round 10 before they hit the round 11 bye.
Yeah, they did. They were sensational, and we could just start to see them building towards what was to come. But there's no doubt that they addressed their inconsistent start to the year, and they're about to hit a real purple patch.
Yeah, they were. Hawthorn came back from the bye, round 12 after the bye, knowing that they'd need a big second half of the season to secure the all-important top 4 finish. Let's take a look back to see how rounds 12 to 16 played out.
With 2 wins in a row heading into the bye, the Hawks had begun what would be their most successful stretch for